I'm here at the Biotech and Money Conference with Peter Molloy, CEO of Race Oncology. Could we start off by asking you to summarise Race Oncology for me?
Well, Race Oncology is a company that we set up with a slightly different business model to your average drug development biotech. Most of those companies give investors the prospect of maybe 10 years of drug development and the associated risk and the funding burden. We decided that maybe a more productive way to go is to look for assets that have been overlooked by Big Pharma, find a way to package some new intellectual property around those and get them on the market quickly, and at the same time generate some commercially relevant revenues. So that's our strategy. It's a company that we set up about 18 months ago, and it listed on the ASX in July 2016.
And how are things going?
It's going very well. I mean, the investor support has been fantastic. We've achieved all of the goals that we set out to achieve. We've secured GMP production of the drug, Bisantrene. We've had a pre-IND meeting with the FDA. We've had some great discussions with investigators. We have a scientific advisory board on board, and we're achieving all our goals according to the timeline that we set out.
And tell me about Bisantrene and the prospects for that drug.
Well, unfortunately, Bisantrene is for a really nasty leukemia called AML, acute myeloid leukemia. And this is a disease that has a very poor prognosis if you're unfortunate enough to get it. And frankly, even if you get treatment, 74% of people die within 5 years. Moreover, it's a disease, the treatment of which hasn't changed much in 30 years. And doctors are crying out for something for those patients that end up in the relapsed refractory category when they've run out of other treatments. And that's where Bisantrene fits in.
Why did Bisantrene not make it in the first instance, though?
Well, as someone that worked in Big Pharma back in the 90s, and was responsible for consolidating portfolios after mergers, I can speak with some authority on this, and I'm sure that Bisantrene was a victim of that kind of consolidation that went on due to Big Pharma mergers. Ledley, the company behind it, was sold to Wyeth. Wyeth had no interest in oncology. Wyeth was then bought by Pfizer, and by the time it ended up in Pfizer's hands, the original patents had expired. And in Big Pharma in those days, small indication, no composition of matter patent, it's really a dead duck.
But if there was no money to be made in it then, according to Big Pharma, why put your efforts into making some money out of it today?
Good question. Well, Big Pharma tended back then at least to have a threshold of opportunity of $1 billion in sales. We don't have $1 billion in sales. Is what this was the blockbuster threshold that we were looking for in drugs. We're a small company. We don't need $1 billion. If we can create a drug or bring a drug to market that has $100, $200, $300 million in sales, that's a very big and profitable opportunity for us. So that's one factor. The other factor is that the treatment of AML has changed a lot. Even though I said it hasn't changed much in 30 years, the size of the market has changed. The number of people with the disease has changed because it's a disease principally of the elderly, and of course there's an aging population. So the number of people with it has grown, and the interest in it has grown because of the opportunity with orphan drug designation and other evolutions that have made it a more interesting, financially interesting market opportunity.
Why should investors back your investment model? Why should they back your business?
One of the things that distinguishes Race is that we're trying to think of value creation for small companies in a different way. Our value creation model is to take an asset that's de-risked, get it to market as quickly as possible, generate commercial proof of concept, and then find a way to monetize all that. We're not trying to build a high-risk portfolio and create the next Pfizer or the next pharmaceutical company or Gilead. We're trying to create value for investors, and that's what we focus on every day. And if we can do it with Bisantrene and add other assets into the portfolio, then that's what we're going to do. So I think that's why investors should support us.
You've got a track record for having discovered old drugs and turned them into a blockbuster in Australia, though, haven't you?
Well, I've launched quite a few products, yes, over the years. So 23 products I can count that I've been responsible for launching over the years, over a number of years. And I think I'd like to think of myself as someone that challenges the thinking of big pharmaceutical companies. They tend to operate in silos and constrained thinking. There are opportunities beyond that, and that's what Race is. Race is really thinking creatively about the opportunities for value creation and not being stuck in the mold of this is the pathway and we have to follow it.
So what are the next operational and clinical milestones for Race Oncology?
It's a very positive outlook for Race. Over the next 12 months, we're going to file an IND and hopefully initiate the pivotal study for Bisantrene that will lead ultimately to an FDA approval. And at the same time, I think we're going to be generating some useful commercial revenues through early access arrangements. So we'll see if that happens.
What do you think the overall timescale for Bisantrene is, do you think?
My horizon for serious value creation here is over the next 3 years.
Peter Molloy, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.